As a brain doctor, I'm shocked. This habit raises stroke risk overnight. Have you ever thought that an ordinary morning could change the rest of your life? As a neurologist, I have witnessed many patients who, just the night before, were healthy and chatting happily, but only a few hours after sunrise, they were lying in a hospital bed, unable to move half of their body or speak a full sentence. What happened? And why does it so often occur in the morning, right after waking up? You might be doing it yourself every single day without realizing it. If just one small habit could increase your risk of stroke overnight, would you want to know what it is and how to prevent it? The little-known truth about morning blood pressure surge. Have you ever wondered why doctors often warn that morning is the most likely time for a stroke to occur? It's not a coincidence. Our bodies follow a circadian rhythm, and right after waking, blood pressure typically rises rapidly to prepare for the day's activities. Scientists call this the morning blood pressure surge. In a meta-analysis of multiple studies, people with higher than average morning surges were found to have a significantly greater risk of cardiovascular events, including stroke. What does this mean? It means that even if your blood pressure is stable during the day, the first few hours after waking still carry hidden dangers. This is especially true for people over 60 whose blood vessels have lost elasticity, making brain arteries more vulnerable to sudden pressure spikes. Have you ever felt your heart pounding or a brief dizziness when you first step out of bed? If so, you may have just experienced a morning blood pressure surge without knowing it. So why does the body push blood pressure up like this? While you sleep, your blood pressure and heart rate drop to conserve energy. Upon waking, the sympathetic nervous system activates, releasing adrenaline, which makes the heart beat faster, constricts blood vessels, and raises blood pressure. This is a normal process, but in older adults or those with underlying conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, or atherosclerosis, this spike is like a shock to the circulatory system. Even more concerning, if during the moment your blood pressure is peaking, you accidentally do something that temporarily reduces blood flow to the brain, your stroke risk can double. What is that? It happens right when you open your eyes and decide to get out of bed, but do it in the way most of us usually do. Can you guess what that habit is and why it can put your brain into an oxygen deficit in just seconds? In the next part, I will explain the phenomenon of orthostatic hypotension, a silent culprit that many older adults experience every morning without realizing it. Orthostatic hypotension and brain ischemia. Have you ever experienced dizziness, lightheadedness, or blurred vision right after getting out of bed? Many older adults assume this is just a normal sign of aging, but in reality, it is an important warning your body is sending you. This phenomenon is called orthostatic hypotension. When you are lying down, blood is distributed evenly throughout the body. But when you stand up suddenly, gravity pulls blood toward your legs, causing your blood pressure to temporarily drop. In healthy young people, the body quickly compensates by constricting blood vessels and increasing heart rate to maintain blood flow to the brain. However, in older adults, especially when the blood vessel walls have become stiffened or narrowed, this mechanism works more slowly or less effectively, leaving the brain without adequate oxygen and nutrients for the first few seconds or minutes after standing. Did you know that these brief moments of transient cerebral hypoperfusion can trigger transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, a warning sign of an impending full-blown stroke? One study found that nearly 20% of adults over 65 experience orthostatic hypotension, and this is closely linked to an increased risk of stroke in the near future. So why is standing up too quickly particularly dangerous? At that moment, the brain is in its most sensitive state to changes in blood pressure, and even a small shock is enough to disrupt blood flow. What if a small habit, like jumping out of bed quickly,
could be the final tipping point that triggers a stroke. Have you ever noticed warning signs such as dizziness, blurred vision, or weakness in the arms or legs, but brush them aside? In the next part, I will share a real-life story about a patient who suffered a major event simply because of the habit of getting up too quickly in the morning. This story will not only help you understand the risk more clearly, but also show how one small change could save your life or the life of someone you love. Do you want to know what happened and the important lesson we can take from it? The patient's story. I clearly remember a 68-year-old female patient whose overall health was fairly stable, with only a history of mildly elevated blood pressure. Every morning, she had the habit of springing out of bed the moment her alarm went off. She once told me that feeling a bit lightheaded in the morning was normal for her, and she didn't worry much about it. Until one day, everything changed. That morning, she woke up as usual, quickly sat up, and stood up right away. Just a few steps later, she felt a sudden, intense dizziness and collapsed to the floor. Her family called emergency services, and she was diagnosed with an ischemic stroke. Fortunately, she was taken to the hospital in time, but the brain damage left her unable to speak clearly and required months of rehabilitation therapy. Have you ever considered that small symptoms like dizziness, blurred vision, or weakness in the arms or legs could be early warning signs of a stroke? Most older adults tend to ignore these signs, thinking they are simply due to old age or poor sleep. In reality, they are some of the most important clues you should never overlook.
Do you wonder, if she had known how to change her habits, could this event have been prevented? The answer is absolutely yes. The habit of getting up too quickly, combined with the morning's sudden blood pressure surge, created the perfect storm for her brain. But with just one small change, you can protect yourself. So what is that change in habit? How can you, in just 2 minutes every morning, avoid this frightening risk? Stay with me, and together we'll uncover a simple yet powerful routine in the next section. Are you ready to learn how to protect your brain every single morning? The 2-minute morning brain protection routine. Have you ever thought that in just 2 minutes each morning, you could significantly reduce your risk of stroke and keep your brain healthy? It may sound hard to believe, but it's true. A simple, gentle, and easy-to-follow routine can help you avoid dangerous morning blood pressure spikes. Right after waking up, instead of jumping out of bed immediately, stay lying down for about 1 to 2 minutes. Take slow, deep breaths to supply your brain with oxygen and allow your circulatory system to gradually adapt to the change. Did you know that the lightheadedness or dizziness many people feel in the morning is often a sign that the brain hasn't received enough oxygen yet? That's your body's way of telling you it needs more time. Then, slowly sit up, let your feet touch the floor, relax your body, and only then stand up gradually. This helps prevent sudden orthostatic hypotension, the silent culprit behind strokes we discussed earlier. Have you ever tried doing this? If not, start tomorrow morning and notice the difference. Also, don't forget to drink a glass of room temperature water right after waking. Your brain is about 75% water, and after 7 to 8 hours of sleep without drinking, your body is mildly dehydrated. Dehydration makes your blood thicker, raises blood pressure, and forces your heart to work harder, putting extra strain on the brain. Drinking water not only helps thin the blood, but also improves circulation, supporting your defense against potential strokes. Are you someone who drinks coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach? If so, consider reducing the amount or waiting until after you've had a light snack and water. Caffeine increases heart rate and constricts blood vessels, which can cause a rapid rise in blood pressure
adding stress to the brain. A moderate cup of coffee without sugar or heavy cream is a much better choice for your health. Lastly, if you are on blood pressure or diuretic medications, take them at the right time and exactly as your doctor prescribes. Keeping this habit is like having a daily shield protecting your brain, especially during those critical first hours after waking. Do you find this routine simple and doable? Can you spare 2 minutes every morning to protect yourself from the risk of stroke? In the final part, you'll learn who needs to be especially cautious and what tools can help you track your health more effectively. Would you like to continue?
High-risk groups that need extra caution. Did you know that not everyone has the same stroke risk? Certain groups of people need to pay extra attention to their morning habits because they carry underlying risk factors that significantly increase the likelihood of a stroke. You could be in one of these groups without even realizing it. First are those taking diuretics or blood pressure medications. These drugs help control hypertension, but can also cause dehydration, leading to a rapid and sudden drop in blood pressure when changing positions. Have you ever felt dizzy or unusually tired after taking your medication? That could be a sign that your medicine is affecting your circulation, and you should be more mindful of how you get up and care for your health each morning. Next are people with a history of transient ischemic attack, TIA, or previous stroke. These individuals are especially sensitive to fluctuations in blood pressure. For them, even a brief drop or spike in blood pressure can easily trigger more severe events. Have you ever feared a recurrence? If so, strictly following a safe morning routine is something you cannot afford to ignore. Those with diabetes or circulatory problems also fall into the high-risk category. Unstable sugar damages blood vessel walls, impairs circulation, and makes it harder for the brain to receive enough oxygen during sudden blood pressure changes. Have you ever experienced morning leg cramps or cold hands and feet? That's a sign of poor circulation, and it means you should pay closer attention to your early morning habits. Finally, adults over the age of 65, a group whose stroke risk increases significantly with age, must be especially cautious. Did you know that nearly 75% of strokes occur in this age group? The good news is, by changing just a few simple habits, you can greatly reduce your risk and maintain long-term health. Would you like to know what tool can help you track your health and detect early warning signs so you can actively protect your brain every day? In the final conclusion, I'll share with you a highly practical and easy-to-use solution. Are you ready? From everything we've discussed, you can now clearly see how important the morning hours are for brain health, especially for those over 60. Getting out of bed too quickly, a habit that seems harmless, can actually lead to serious consequences, like stroke or transient ischemic attack. Have you ever thought that just one small action could determine your health and your future? Think back to the patient story I shared, the one who suffered severe after effects simply because she stood up too quickly in the morning. The good news is, you can completely avoid that by changing your morning routine, taking 2 minutes to allow your body to adjust and stabilize blood pressure. Not only that, drinking enough water, avoiding coffee on an empty stomach, and taking your medications on time are also essential steps to protect your brain.
But not everyone remembers and consistently follows these steps. That's why I want to introduce you to a valuable tool, the Senior Health Tracker app. This isn't just another ordinary app, it's your personal health assistant, helping you monitor vital signs, record unusual symptoms, and remind you to maintain healthy daily habits. Thousands of older adults have already used it and noticed remarkable improvements in both their health and well-being. Would you like me to help you download and guide you on how to use this app?
And if you found this video helpful, please share it with your family and friends, especially those over 60. Who knows, this information could save them from the silent threat of stroke. Finally, remember this. Mornings are not just the start of a new day, they are your opportunity to actively protect your health and longevity. Don't let seemingly harmless habits damage the brain you should treasure most. Are you ready to make a change and keep your mind sharp and healthy for years to come?